Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 417. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Zellner.
Hello.
Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Got a great show planned for you today. We're going to talk about the Sonic Amateur Games Expo. We're going to catch up on the latest in Pokemon news. That's right. The brand new, hot new Pokemon video game conversation everyone's been waiting for. Sonic Colors? Game Boy games? It's going to be a show. But before that, I want to know from you, Mark, if you were going to sign up for a monthly subscription box, what do you want it to have inside of it?
I guess it depends on the subscription box, but if it's not food-based...
You can do whatever you want. You're going to give a company dollars of your money, and they're going to send you a box full of junk. What kind of junk do you want on a recurring basis that surprises you?
Just stuff I can't get anywhere else, for the most part. But aside from that... Man... I really don't know. Over time, I start to not like them because over time, I just start to have a bunch of shit in my room that I'll never get rid of. And then I feel like a hoarder. And then I can't, you know what? Just make the Taco Bell subscription box. At least that way, that gives me more incentive to eat it if it's food. I will always take anything that is slapped on there. You know, give me fucking a useless bottle opener with a Taco Bell logo on it. They don't sell anything with bottles like that. Who cares? It's a Taco Bell.
What if it were items that all disintegrated in like 30 days before the next box appeared? Ooh. In order to get your next box, you need to send them proof that you destroyed the contents of the previous box.
Like, if we're still on Taco Bell, you have to like specifically prove that you hate yourself month by month.
I would love if like they sent, because with scenarios like that, I feel like they have to send you the supplies to destroy it, right? What if they sent like a candle, or not candle, but like a match or something to burn the box, but it burned Baja Blast Blue flames?
That would be nice.
That would be cool.
You put it in like a safe little metal box, and you'd put the candle inside at the bottom level. You'd light that. There's a tray that goes on top of that with all the items safely set.
A purple restaurant tray.
Exactly.
That's flammable.
And you know what? Throw in, there always has to be a retro Happy Meal toy, or whatever they called it for their equivalent. Because that market is so dumb, where people think they can just overprice old shit just because it's in plastic.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they don't make it anymore. They don't care about kids anymore. Just, no, kids today don't know that these things even exist. So put them in boxes. You know, mail that out.
Man.
Like a lot of vintage shit I think would be good for subscription stuff, or if they were to like reproduce vintage things.
Yeah.
Maybe like a more modern shaped shirt but the old design or something, you know.
You think we'll get there with 3D printing where people are just like, "Hey, here's the entire Happy Meal line from 1988."
Probably like through a Kickstarter or something.
Yeah. Matt, what subscription box are you signing up for?
So I'm gonna. It's a little bit of a mix. It's a G Fuel box, okay?
All right.
But I want to choose one flavor as like a tester. I want to be able to try it before I purchase it, kind of thing. I also want them to send me experimental flavors, and every once in a while send me a shaker, but not any kind of shaker. I want a shaker that has some kind of emblem to show that I am a box member, reward exclusive, club tier little badge. So that way when the people see it, they know. And they should honor me with respect.
Okay. You're tapping right in. When I was in that Coke subscribers box, I would get surveys from time to time that says, "Why do you do this?" And my answer was always like, "Because I want to try weird stuff." And there was an option what said, "I want people to know that I'm special." And that was that was the box that Matt hit, is notice me.
I should forward you an email I got from G Fuel then. They have like special collections with like their own custom shakers per box. Like there's like a special like Miami Nights one. There's like
we get those emails. Don't worry.
Okay. Cool.
Well, besides Funko Pops monthly, I think I was trying to think while you guys were talking. I think either a random old Game Boy game a month or Mr. Compatible controller would be fun. I don't care what it is. Just don't send me a random controller for like, an Amiga. But let me get a controller that I can use.
Do they still
I'm just trying to think of like dumb things I already collect. So what would be dumb to get more of? And yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Do they still make like controllers with the games built in them?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure they do.
Imagine getting like you get a random controller every month, but it's a random game. It's like you don't even know what's in it. So you,
dude, like a bunch of old little
and you plug
like
it
Tiger
in with
Electronics. The what?
I was gonna say, or you just they give you the AV jacks to plug it into.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be very into that. Speaking of we're very into game of the year. In fact, we're 15. Well, I think we're a little bit more than 15 weeks because we've skipped a few weeks along the way. But we've got 15 games on our game of the year list. It's been a bit since we checked in with the list in total for the listeners. Of course, the list is available on thefreecheese.com. You can always refer to it. There are write-ups for some of the games. Some of the other games still need to put a write-up together for. But yeah, Matt pointed out that we have not run down the list in a bit, so let's do just that. You want to go from bottom up?
Yeah, build the suspense.
Yeah, there we go. So from bottom up of our current game of the year list, we've got Super Mario Odyssey bringing us home. The Last Guardian, Final Fantasy 15, Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, Celeste, Red Dead Redemption 2, Fire Emblem: Three Houses, Splatoon 2, Hitman, Devil May Cry 5, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Doom, Tetris Effect, and Nier Automata at number 1. Tetris Effect, the long-standing champion there. Till Nier dethroned it just last week. If you want to hear the conversation around that and you haven't yet, you can go back in time and listen to 416. 417, though, we're talking, I believe, the final game from 2016's top 5. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. It's not Matt shaking his head violently. What else do we have from 2016?
Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. The penultimate game from 2016. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. I'm gonna go to Matt because yeah.
All right.
I was gonna go to Mark, and I knew it was gonna turn into the PS4 conversation right off the bat. And I know that I set Mark up last week where he was like, "Thanks for letting me talk about Nier when I was the one who played the least." So let's go ahead, Matt. Tell us about Uncharted 4, A Thief's End.
Yeah, I mean, I think Uncharted 4 is very personally one of my favorite franchises, at least on PlayStation's side. I enjoy these games a lot. I enjoy it's not so serious story. It's like a good Indiana Jones, kind of adventure. And then, I like the characters. I like, all of them really, from Sully, Nathan, to the girlfriends, whatever side you're on. But even the supporting cast, and even sometimes when they do the villain, most villains are somewhat decent. Not all of them, but somewhat throughout the franchise. But I think this one, A Thief's End is a very fitting title for this. Without going into too many spoilers, the story does culminate some of the things from previous games, at least with character threads and stuff, and it wraps them up quite nicely. with one of the best epilogues, I think, to send off a franchise, at least for now. At least in recent memory. But I just think this one, like, this was the one, in terms of story or whatever, it incorporated his brother. I can't remember his name now. And this was actually one of the slowest starts to an Uncharted game, in my opinion. It actually took me a few chapters to kind of get rolling with this one. But mechanically, I think this is the most sound one. Introduced that grappling hook thing, which I think in the timeline is kind of funny that he didn't know how to use a grappling hook for the first 3 games, but now all of a sudden he does. But besides that, I think mechanically this felt like the best one. I think they learned some things from The Last of Us and brought them over to here. And I think this is one of those games that the untalked about part is multiplayer. And even though I didn't play a lot of it, it had decent multiplayer. And I think something that the multiplayer does so well that other games don't is use of verticality because of the climbing mechanics that Uncharted brings to its games. I think it makes it feel unique, in terms versus like all the other shooters and stuff you have out there. But yeah, no, I think this is a good overall package of a game, but it's like personally one of my favorite games. I just know growth on this podcast over the last 5 years has made me realize to separate my personal interest from the interest of if the game is actually good or not. But yeah, no, this is one of my favorite games. I know Joe did not have the same feelings as I did, and Mark, you have a broken PlayStation.
Correct.
Has your opinion changed on Uncharted 4 in the last 5 years, Mark?
It's a series I've also barely touched. Like, I tried starting from the beginning with this and didn't get too far. But I am able to acknowledge its accomplishments and its own growth and development throughout the years, from afar at least. And so, like, I know I think this one is probably one of the more favored games from what I hear, like outside of Matt. I don't know what was before this that was most favored. That I couldn't answer, but
2, I think.
Was it 2?
A lot of people like 2. You had a couple people who said 3, but largely 2 was the one that was recognized.
Greg Miller.
And I guess 4 was just so good that, they had to put it on a PS4. So I guess that means something. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say about it, unfortunately.
My memory of this game is that it took way too long. And I try to separate that from the fact that I was playing it in a matter of 48 hours before we recorded our Game of the Year podcast. But even still, pacing-wise, there were so many false stops or points in the story where it felt like it was coming to a conclusion, and then they just said, what if we had 15 more chapters? And that, I think, has become a Naughty Dog thing, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I do like that, aspects of other, like The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, you do get these mini conclusions to stories, and each one can act as its own kind of set piece. If it were a TV show, and it will be, you could kind of end seasons of a show with seasons of the game. And I think Uncharted 4 did that in a way, but it, I think, in some ways outstayed its welcome. I remember being very impressed with this game on a technical level. The stuff that the animation department was able to pull off, the movement. I specifically remember I was still a cigarette boy, and I was on a cigarette boy's break, and it was during PSX. Remember when they used to care about stuff like that, and we were allowed to be in rooms with people? They did a presentation that showed off Uncharted 4, and they showed Nathan crouching and going through leaves, these big old leaves in the jungle, and it was super cool how they pulled that. I remember that just standing out, and then playing the game too. Elements like that became much more immersive in the game and felt less like, because before you'd kind of go back to an old Uncharted game and you could very easily see exactly where you were pathed to go as Nathan, where I felt like 4 was the first step towards, it's not open world by any means, and there is still basically a set path, but they like obfuscated that a bit more than they had previously, and I felt that that made me feel more, I don't know, into the environment of the game, and I wanted to explore more of it, where before it was always like, I want to get through, kill the dudes, and get to the end. Story-wise, while I do criticize its kind of pacing and those moments, I do feel, I agree with Matt, it went some places that like just were intriguing and different for the series. It grounded it a bit more than this like lofty adventurer thing, and you know, adding the brother and the history there gave some other elements to the story. Was this the only one that didn't have a supernatural twist to it, or did this? I don't even remember.
Believe so.
Yeah, like that was kind of weird that they didn't go that route. I was kind of waiting for that the whole time, but yeah, I think on the whole, I probably liked this more than 3, but 3 was also like a really fun, goofy adventure. But this was also the point where I was like, yeah, you guys are done with them? Cool, me too. What else you got? You know, like I was happy that it was over.
And to that point, I think that's another part of this, right? Like, all right, so 4 ends, and you know, in 2006, all we had was 4, but a year later, we get its own, like it's like the standalone. It's not like a DLC; it's its own thing called The Lost Legacy that stars Chloe, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was Chloe and Nadine.
Yeah, I found that. I found like you said, it seemed 4 was a little bit too long. It seemed like the tighter experience in The Lost Legacy played so much better to these types of stories where, you know, you don't have to you know, it's not like a movie where we want to see 6 different locations. I'm fine with like living in 1, maybe 2, and exploring it a bit more over a handful of chapters that takes 5 hours instead of a 15-hour adventure. So like, it's crazy, but I think like The Lost Legacy actually ends up being better pacing and story-wise than 4. Although 4, the epilogue is the thing that stayed with me in this game for the last 5 years. I love the way they wrote off the characters. They left a cliffhanger or two in case they want to explore the franchise again. With the Drake family line. But yeah, I mean, that's all I really gotta say about it. Like I said, one of my personal favorite games, but when it comes to this list, I don't think it stacks up well against most of it.
Yeah, we're so knowing the ranking system, like I'm looking.
How good's the soundtrack?
I mean,
it's good. It's good, but it's
samey.
It's that like bah, 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 bah. I guess it's iconic. I still remember the theme, but like, it's not. Yeah. This one for me is right around the Final Fantasy 15, Last Guardian, Super Mario Odyssey. Which, for our listeners who cannot see the list or recall its ordering, are the bottom 3 of the list. Like for me, I'm struggling to put this above Bloodstained. Oddly enough, this feels on par with Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 is the thing, because I think I can
But
put
Red
this...
Dead's too high on this list to begin with. So if we want to move Red Dead below Super Mario Odyssey and then put Uncharted 4 above Red Dead, I'm good with that.
Well, I am not good with that.
You're tainted by Undead Nightmare.
No, I mean, I don't think Red Dead is worse than Uncharted. I think Red Dead has more to offer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
I mean,
so Red Dead at the bottom and then Uncharted below that.
I'm okay with that.
No, I don't know, man. Like the list as it is, this is it's weird because we're like right back in 2016 with this Final Fantasy 15: The Last Guardian. It's somewhere in there, but I don't. I could make an argument for.
I'd probably put it below 15. Below or above.
In my head, I'm creating my argument against Bloodstained, but I don't think I have it. No, I don't.
It's
have
tough
it.
because like I'm looking at the weak points of Uncharted and then trying to compare it to the weak points of these other games. I don't know that that's the best approach to this, but
I think Celeste is the better package than Uncharted. So I'm not going
definitely
above
below
that.
Celeste.
I'm not going there. I did not play Bloodstained to make a good argument, and I don't necessarily need to make that argument. But I'm arguing above 15.
I'll concede just because I'm a nice guy, but
Every gameplay video of 15 looks like a mess.
No, dude. 15's solid and fun, and I liked growing the party in that game, and like that was the whole experience for that. And I never felt like
I'm playing fucking Final Fantasy 15 this week. I'm gonna give it.
You should.
A fucking.
You
shake.
will love it.
I think that game looks like a fucking mess every time I see it. I was nice when we fucking ranked it. Now I'm not being nice.
You will love
anymore.
that game. You're gonna come back from playing it and be like, and I mean play it, dude. Like I want you to play it, not say anything until you beat it, and then weigh in.
Okay.
If you play it after like 5 hours, you might not be there, and you might be spending that whole first 5 hours looking for reasons to prove yourself right. But if you really let yourself get in there, you hang out with the buddies. You might
I'm
be
not
walking
hanging
out
out with the buddies
tattoo.
for 50 hours if I hit after 5. I learned my lesson with 13.
Nah, 30 hours. You can beat that story in 30. 35, you want to grind a little bit.
I was going to say, obviously you can't because you're struggling to beat it.
Yeah, 30, you should probably grind a little bit, do some side quests, make it 35. I got to like 27, 28, and I was right there. So maybe spend a little bit grinding. I will go back to 15 at some point. I really like that game. But no, I mean, 15 for me, like pacing wise, like again, like stacking up the weaknesses of these games, like Uncharted 4, I just think about that pacing and the like, I wanted it to be over. Not because I wasn't like, enjoying the gameplay. I thought the guns were a lot of fun. I loved like trying to solve the combat puzzles of that game, but it got to a point where it outstayed its welcome. And Final Fantasy 15, if I'm looking at it in that lens, was just, it never got, because even when it was like boring and I had to drive, I could still flip through the radio station, put on some old music, and just cruise with my bros.
Do you like the combat more in 15 more than the combat in Uncharted?
Do I like it better?
Yeah.
They're too different. But
like, do they both feel good?
I think so. Like the 15 stuff, granted, 7 is the actualization, or the true realization. 7 remake rather is the like final form of Final Fantasy 15's combat. But I really liked what they did there initially. You had this, active input with Noctis, and then you're kind of commanding the others to do things in real time, and that in the same way that like picking the right tool, picking the right route for Nathan, was a nice combat puzzle. I think 15 had that too. It's tough.
I'll go under 15. Mark, do you have an argument?
You don't have
for the
to
last
concede, dude. I'm if you wholly believe it is.
No, because I'm going to play 15. I swear to God, I'm playing 15 this week. Let me start the download now so I can maybe probably have it by Thursday before I leave for Vegas. So that way when I come back, so when I come back, I might actually have time to play it.
Do you have 15?
Fuck it, I'll buy it. I don't even care. I'll throw money at Square Enix. I'm fucking playing this game, so that way I can deservedly shit on this combat system that looks like a fucking mess every time I see gameplay of it. Anyway, I put it under 15. Put under 15 because I'm going to play 15, and I'll use my one re-rank to flip one spot for Uncharted. Because so far, I haven't figured out what I want to use it on yet. And I think that's the one now. A meaningless, like, at the end of this all, like,
I'm
somewhere
half
between a 28 to 22. I'll flip it one spot down there.
I'm half tempted to use one of those re-rank cards.
Oh.
But not yet. But I will let the listeners know that I think after watching more gameplay of Tetris Effect, I'm not sure if it deserves second place.
Boom! Oh, I can't wait for that week. I can't wait for
I'm
week.
I'm still thinking about it. But
2 weeks
that's
in a
where I'm
row. 2 weeks in a row, I woke up on that side of the bed where Doom's a better game.
Roll over next time. All right, we're putting Uncharted right below Final Fantasy 15 for now.
Yeah, unless Mark, you want to fight Last Guardian.
No, I know where Guardian deserves to be. It's okay.
Oh, all right.
I'm sure Uncharted did a better job at having an adventure. 4 games into the franchise, there's some polishing things to be loved there, I'm sure.
I mean,
the real question is,
I was gonna say with Uncharted, I find it weird. I'm not arguing anymore, but like I find it weird that you wanted it to end. I don't remember that being the case for me. I just remember it was like Chapter 7. I was like, when's the game starting? I think that was my issue. It took forever to get started, but once I got into it, I didn't mind the length.
That too, yeah. Because they did all of that, like flashback to the prison and that.
Yeah, and then once they got, that was early. Like that caught my interest, sure. But then, like when you got back, it just took forever to like
get going,
get the kick in the butt for Nathan to start being in trouble and everything.
Yeah, because you know that's coming at that point. But yeah, Final Fantasy 15 is currently $35.
What the fuck? That game's 5 years old. God,
you can get
well, I was
Pass?
looking at the Royal Edition. To be fair, it was on Game Pass. It left to make way for
to make me spend $35.
You can always get
No, they had it on there for like a year. That was like the first one that hit Game Pass from those Final Fantasy deals.
Just get the Pocket Edition.
Yeah, do that definitely. That's the one to play.
I'm sure if you get it on PC, there's some sites that always have it on sale.
No, I can't put it on PC. I have Warzone on PC. I can't. They can't
sorry.
share a hard drive.
Hard drives used up.
And you've also got a ton of those Sonic games on there because we've been playing some Sonic Amateur Games from the Sonic Amateur Games Expo 2021. I handpicked some games for Mark and Matt to play, sent them out to them last week, and I had some to play myself. I want to hear about what you guys played. There's some crossover. Because I played some of the ones I sent to you guys, but I didn't play all of them, and I played some stuff that you didn't. So, in order of our Discord window on my side, at least, Mark, why don't you start? What's your first game? If you have the creator name, drop that. I did not write them all down, so I'm gonna try and do that as we're. But yeah, what was the first game you played? Tell us the name, what you think of it, etc.
So I didn't put the creator's name in my list, but
okay, Matt, did you put creators' names and stuff down?
No, but
I have for one that wasn't assigned to me.
Well, then what we'll do is
I can easily get the links. Oh, I only play the games assigned to me.
All right, well, we're gonna link to all of these in the show notes on the website. So if you hear this and you're curious about them, there will be links to all of them.
Oh, but I mean, it's fine. I got it. I got it right here. Thanks to Discord. But yeah, so the first one I went into was Sonic Rush 3D.
Oh, nice. That one seemed like, because you're a fan of the Rush series, right, and the Advanced series in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see what you thought of Sonic Rush 3D. How'd that one go?
So, obviously most of these games are going to be demos for listeners that don't know. So they're usually like short, very digestible levels to play. But I just kind of went through a list and just wrote down just what stood out to me. Just like not really in no specific order. But one of the first things I couldn't help but notice was like the character models, and I actually love the design of these. I don't know if they are true to the DS models at all, but they feel like there's like a small hint of like original Sonic Adventure design to Sonic, at least.
Yeah.
And I love like the texture of them, where it's like the character models themselves are at a pretty good render, but still have like a low poly look to them, and like the textures are clean, but you can still see a little bit of like pixel texture shading on them, which I always enjoy that. I'm very, very about that. It's very, very good. The music, 10 out of 10. It's still, if it's not a track from Sonic Rush, then I'm not sure where it's from, but it has that composer's name all over it. Hideki. So I always get his last name wrong, but the composer for like Jet Set Radio and what have you. Definitely his taste. So I was really enjoying that. The level design, so it's like, it reminds me a bit of Unleashed in like the beginning, where it's like a lot of like white buildings over water, and it's like very like that type of I guess Sonic 06 kind of had that too for a little bit. But it was just like very spacious, a lot of wide roads. And maybe I don't know. I don't want to like, I don't want to be super judgmental about any of these because I really enjoyed them, but like I kind of felt like the map was maybe a little too huge. Like, yeah, you still know where to go, but it just seemed like a lot of it was just kind of like filler space, just to try to make it seem a little more, I guess, like eventful than probably what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like it's fine. I think a lot of that is to be expected in these games, because official Sonic games have a lack of being open. So I think it's nice to have Sonic breathe for once. So I do appreciate that aspect of it as well. Sonic, the gameplay itself was mostly fine. And I think it's because of the maps, maybe, that he just didn't feel that fast, probably because there was just so much to get through that, like, maybe if it was a, like, smaller scale map, maybe things would probably go by a little quicker, and maybe he is actually faster than what I'm experiencing. But it just didn't really feel like that, but it was still fine. Like, it didn't, like, make me hate the game or anything. It was just something I just was just observing. The homing attacks were pretty good for the most part. And again, because this is probably, you know, it's just like a demo, not a full thing. There are bugs to be expected. Like, you can't, you know.
Sure.
So like the homing, it was a little hit and miss here and there, but it was more hit than miss. So that's fine. The only bug I really ran into was like, it's doing a part where, it tries to do like I don't know what to call it. I guess like a more like cinematic scene in the game. Like, you know, like if Sonic is going through like a loop, the camera changes to like a fixed part for a second, and you watch him kind of do the thing automatically. Like, you know, like Sonic will like auto run on some parts like in a game. It was doing that part, and after you go through the loop, you have to immediately like slide tackle like underneath of like a crevice to get underneath of that wall. And like the prompt to do it was like too early. And I didn't know that at first, because I was trying to do it like as soon as you get to the wall. It's usually when you do it, but hitting the B button wasn't doing that. It was just putting me in like a like I was still doing like a slide, but it wasn't going underneath of the thing. So I had to force myself to go back through the loop somehow. And I had like, it was just a weird bug to like try to get through. So you have to like preemptively do it before you're actually supposed to do it. I learned
that stuff's that's a bummer because of how, you know.
Yeah, so like I mean, I was able to make it work, so it's cool. But yeah,
but overall, like good project that you'd want to see come to light, or?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so like, and I think because of that loop part, it just probably just needs like it just needs a little couple tweaks here and there. But like aside from that, I think this is a very good, faithful project to what for what Sonic Rush is. Like Sonic Rush is mostly like a 2D thing already, so like to turn it into 3D, I think is a very good feat.
Yeah,
like props to that, and there's a lot of people to credit with that one.
Yeah, that one was one that I think like uses a cool 3D engine. The first one I tried was called Sonic Eclipse, and that too, among a couple of the other 2D ones, uses something called the Flicky Engine 8, which is a game maker studio developed tool for people to make Sonic games. So that was kind of cool seeing that there's like shareware among the Sonic fan community to make 2D Sonic games. Sonic Eclipse, I had this audio bug that just sounded like the bubble. You know, when you're underwater and that, eat the bubble thing. It sounded like that sound effect was just looping. So I kind of tolerated it for as long as I could, and then did not play much of Sonic Eclipse because the game itself, like, I was jumping around and like it was super distracting, and I tried it a few times and it just wouldn't work. So I jumped to the next thing instead of trying to troubleshoot it a whole bunch more. And the next thing for me was Sonic Emerald Ties. And this one, from my understanding, has shown up at a few of these expos over the last few years. Sonic Emerald Ties feels like a 2D Sonic game. Like, it truly did. And I felt that the character model was like, I don't know, there was something really neat about, what do you call it? Emerald Ties. Like, it's not quite Sonic Advance's character model. But it's something like he's got that kind of modern Sonic attitude. This one is just really, really well polished and like well made. It uses the Sonic Mania menus, so like there's a little bit of that flavor where I don't know if they're trying to get picked up by Sega to make their own game or something, but like I don't know. The first level is called Sparkling Seaside Zone. And it's a beach that you run through, and it felt like I don't know. That's the tough thing is like I don't know what else to say other than it felt like a Sonic game, but it really did feel like a Sonic game.
I mean, but that's like the best compliment you can give it, right? I mean, that's what you're going for.
Yeah, you know, and I was like excited playing it. I think the only thing that worked against it is that it felt like a Sonic game, right? So like. It just like I was playing it and I wasn't seeing anything that I hadn't seen in Sonic Mania or 3D or Knuckles, which isn't a bad thing, but it was like I was kind of poking through these games and like excited to see how people interpreted it. They just made a Sonic game, which is cool. It's really cool. And it's really fun, but it was just kind of like, I don't know. It didn't stand out to me. Like, it wasn't memorable to me. Like, when I was looking back over the week, like, I almost forgot that I played this one. But that sounds way harsher than it needs to. Sorry. I think it's cool. It's a very good one. Matt, what was the first one you played?
Did you all have like non-Sonic things that you played, or was that the only one?
I have 2.
All right. Well then, all right. I'll go with the actual order I played them in. All right. So I started with Big's Big World, and after my computer tried to prevent me from playing it with Windows Defender, which was I think the case across all of these for everyone, it was fine. I thought you were gonna troll me for a second. The way this kind of introduced itself, I thought I was about to play like a Dark Souls Sonic game with Big the Cat. That wasn't it. But no, I mean seriously though, I think this was in Unreal, if I remember correctly.
Unreal 5, dude.
And
it looks
good. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I meant to play
couple
this.
Visual bugs here and there, but like Mark said, I think it's kind of expected to run into a couple hiccups here and there. Nothing like I saw a couple fish start to like come up onto the land, like they were swimming on land. So I mean, little things like that, but
I had some like floating through the sky and stuff too.
It was like visually very impressive. I mean, I guess this bases on your rig, but like the draw distance went forever for me. I could see the other side of the island or whatever this was. I think this was like a fan servicey move, like with all the different areas they put into this little area island world thing. It's gigantic.
It's huge and like so cinematic the way they like would introduce things. Yeah.
When you get into an area, it changes the music, I believe, to its respective music, I'm assuming, in their games. So yeah, it's very fan servicey. And, for me, I was probably like, because there's like a attack with the fishing rod. I think this would actually appeal to me more if there were enemies along the way to kind of, prevent you from maneuvering around. But I think in a weird way, this actually appeals to like your, Stardew Valley crowd or possibly like your Animal Crossing crowd. It's like a laid back experience. Yes, there's a timer in the top right, but you can take your time doing it from what I saw in like the 30 to 45 minutes I put into this. I think I started realizing the speed run strat of jumping, bouncing, and floating instead of just running.
Yeah. That's good mobility.
So I started doing that a lot. Like I said, it was very, very weird with all the maneuverability and the different attacks that there was nothing else in the world. Don't know that's going to be something that they plan to add later. But yeah, the basis of the game, though, is to your Froggy. He disappears, and he can be in one of many waters. I think the actual thing says 140 ponds or waters. So it's just a fishing game, and you're looking for Froggy.
Did you catch a fish?
Nope.
Same.
Sure did.
I was trying so hard.
I started figuring out, right? The Dark Souls mode came out of me where I started bashing my head against like, all right, what am I doing wrong here? And I started like realizing like I could move, like tap. There was different reeling speeds. I started using a left stick to go back and forth to try to bait a fish to, get the bait or whatever. But I could never catch a fish. And, yeah, I never found Froggy, although, like I said, that's a massive piece of land with a lot of different areas, a lot of different crevices where water is, including the tutorial area. So, no, like I said, it was very impressive. I mean, for a laid-back game, not kind of my style, but can appreciate it. And, I think the only thing I didn't say is when with the fan service stuff, they still have the horrifying drowning music for Big when you drown
Oh my god, dude, and it hits you quickly too.
Yeah.
Like, because after I couldn't catch a fish from where I was like, what if I just stand underwater and try
whack
and fish?
Oh, I was trying to whack them.
Like immediate, like very
horrifying.
Quickly. And it's only a 5-second timer instead of 10.
Yeah, horrifying. That was that. Like I said, not too much. Really, but it's just the world going from area to area, music changes, and the fishing. I mean, honestly, that is it. It's big, and I can't stress enough, it looks impressive.
I know, that's why I saw it, and I was like, okay, I get it, the joke and whatever, and then I was like, no, this actually looks really good. Like, they're using Unreal Engine 5, and they're doing, like, some cool stuff with it. Anyway, yeah. We got more to get through. Let's jump to the next one. Mark, what's your next game?
So the next one is Sonic Riders X.
Did you like this one?
Yeah. Overall, I think it's pretty solid. I didn't. So I think there's like 4 levels to choose from, and I only did the first 2.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Because like I kind of got the point of it, and I was just kind of expecting the same kind of experience with each one. I played as Knuckles. That was my first choice.
Did you play as him for both levels?
No, I did Sonic for the second level.
Okay. Yeah, I did Sonic once and Tails the other time, so.
Kind of weird that there was no tutorial. It just kind of throws you in, so like you got to learn the controls like the hard way. So like
on the fly.
And I'm not used to Sonic Riders and haven't really played one, so I assume it's the same layout as those games, or at least I would hope so. But I think once I got the hang of it, I kind of understood it, and I was like, all right, I get it. It's not as complex as I thought or as it felt initially, because like your board has fuel, and like over time, like once that runs out, you're just running on the track while holding the board until you're able to find more fuel, and then you can go again. So like there was a boost to it. It's kind of like it reminds me of F-Zero a little bit, with like the layouts of the tracks and the music. Like it was really making me like it was striking those vibes for a bit, which, you know, I have no problem with. But like that aside, like it is still pretty intuitive to get into, so it's like it's not too bad if you don't, like, if you're like me and just had no idea what to do from the start.
I had that too. Like I felt like I was drowning and not like making the right moves. Like, did I jump too early or too late? Which things am I supposed to interact with? Again, it's a demo, and this is very, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like totally in control. Like I was fine getting through, but I'm happy I wasn't like racing against anyone, because I would not have done well.
Yeah, like it was like there's parts of each track where like the camera and the game just kind of take over for you, and it's just like a little like set piece again, where it tries to be cinematic for one part of the track. Yeah. It's like I get it, but I feel like that kind of takes away from the race itself. Could be masking loading or something, and like if you look at it that way, like that's an interesting trick to get around it. But I don't. Yeah.
I mean I was gonna say all the Sonic 3D games still do that, right?
Yeah, but like I don't know if you should do that for a racing game.
Fair.
And yeah. I mean, but you're not racing against anyone. It's just you. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it, I guess. It gives you time to kind of like try to figure out pathways and try to just find different ways to get around the track. The boards I had a little trouble understanding. Like, I don't know if there should be stats with those or something to kind of tell, like, I mean, there's a little descriptor, like, hey, this one is whatever, but I feel like
went by with what looked cool.
Right, like, they all essentially felt the same, so maybe that's just for, like, demo reasons. Maybe unless there's a difference I'm just not noticing, but I didn't feel anything too different from the two boards that I tried out with different characters. But yeah, there's not much to that one. It's just kind of that. It's just a little like F-Zero like track. Go down with your board, rinse repeat for a couple laps. It's basically. I mean, yeah, you could be Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and there's like maybe 5 different boards I think to pick from. I will say the character models, they were like too good looking for those levels.
Yeah, they were like very clean high-res models.
I mean, like the stages looked good too, but it seemed like 2 different like games put together. It was like the sequel, like the models from a sequel were placed into like the original.
I think they took the original assets and then they like up-res them.
But I mean, they look really good though. Cool. But it was just a detail I just couldn't help but notice as I'm staring at the back of Knuckles the whole time. And I was like, man, that's like, it's been a while since I've seen Sonic characters look this detailed and good.
Maybe next year when we get that 30th anniversary game.
Yeah, it's just kudos to fans for always putting it out there.
Alive. Sonic Discover was the next one I played. So you play through one level. It's called Satin City Zone, and I think it is a really, really well thought out map that kind of takes you through seasons as you play through. And it starts off, you're just kind of in a city and you're kind of working your way following this parrot through the level. And then you eventually come across like cherry blossoms that are, you know, flickering in the wind. And like that to me, like seeing this kind of like, you know, the cherry blossoms against the city. It's not a Sonic. It did not feel like Sonic. And I liked that about it. Like it was a cool, I don't know, like departure for what a Sonic level, what I expect out of it. They did some really neat things with like background animations and like building a world. You have like random people that like hang out of windows and wave hi to Sonic because they're just so excited to see him racing by. And the song that plays is this like, it sounds like jazz in Mario. Like if you've ever heard a jazzy tune in a Mario game, that's what this song sounded like. I liked it a lot.
Odyssey.
It's the only one of these games that I finished the demo for completely, and then also still wanted to go back and play through it. And there's a bonus stage where you kill Sonic. So, not literally, but like the way they do their bonus stage in this one is you're running, kind of just left to right, and it's just rails you can like jump up on to grab gems that are there, and you're kind of like just changing levels height to get to the end. But at the very end, the way they get you back out of the thing is just by having Sonic run. But really quickly, you can see the like he falls animation, and that's how they reset you back on the stage, which was interesting. But I like that one. Sonic Discover. Check that one out. That one was a lot of fun. Matt?
So Big was the only like Sonic themed one that I got. So the next one, just a submission in this, called Nebula Ball 3D. It's a bowling game where you kind of use the mouse and like you click and you like kind of throw, and depending on how fast you move the mouse, like that's the speed of the ball. And then from there you can kind of control the spin by moving the mouse left or right. And they supply you with different types of balls. So some of them are, they throw faster, some of them are easier to control. There's a couple different balls that kind of like go in the middle and twist those stats up a bit. But no, I actually, this is a demo. It only had 2 levels. You're collecting XP, but for no reason seemingly because of the demo. But like, I loved this game, and if this was like the full game, I think I'd be talking about this like not just in this segment, but like what have I been playing lately? It would have been this game.
What did it have to do with Sonic? Like, why did they use an engine that was similar? Like, I couldn't find anything about that. Like, could you get a feel for anything like that, or was it just like, here's a cool bowling game, and there's a
ball that says the Sage 21,
okay.
Which is the default ball, to be fair. So at least you're seeing it a lot. It's not just hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't find anything Sonic related about it, but like just the mechanic of it, I really found myself like trying to master, like, all right, which ball is the best ball to use in these scenarios? Carefully, like, trying to figure out, like, the best, like, speed to use my mouse, the padding on some of these, because it's not just, like, bowling. It's, like, obstacle course bowling, so, like, you have to use speed and curving to maneuver some of, like, the quote-unquote lanes to get to the pins, which, even though there are pins and there's a score at the end. But, yeah, they only have the two levels, which each level contains 10 different quote lanes, but it does score like a bowling, like it does your strikes, your spares, your sevens, whatever you get, it scores like that. But yeah, no, seriously, like you're collecting XP, like it's converting your score to XP. It's just, I wish there was something to use the XP on, because I think I would have kept playing. Also, like, I understand where they're at with this game. I understand it being a demo, but like my score meaning something, I think is the core of it, right? Like, yeah, like scores lead to XP, but like even if the XP, don't worry about that, but there's some kind of like leaderboard or like, I don't know, something you can see. I don't know how they would do it, but like a friends leaderboard or something like that. Like there was something just to like show off my score or make it a little bit more competitive or like worth my effort to get a perfect 300 or something like that. I think I would still be there right now. But no, I thought it was really cool. It's very like spacey, galaxy kind of thing. Like the description says it's in the year 2250. So it has that kind of vibe to it. Soundtrack's nothing special, I don't think, but I just like that mechanic with the mouse and the bowling balls and the different track or the lane setups. There's some interesting concepts with ramps and things like that.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I didn't try that one. I want to try that one now.
Yeah.
That developer is making another game called Brook versus World Doom. So maybe this is like kind of spun out of that, perhaps. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we've got a couple more, I think. Mark.
Just a side note, I want that bowling game to be like a real bowl. That's like, actual bowling should be that.
Yeah.
Anything with obstacles, honestly. So this next one, doesn't really seem Sonic inspired to me, but trust me, that is okay. This is called Blazing Dynamo, and this is more for like those hardcore people who play like Mario 64 or Odyssey and just use nothing but all these tricks that they made up to navigate throughout. It's like it's that level. Like it's super impressive what this character can do. Like it's like I guess it's like a robot, and it like I'm trying to like see how I can describe what the character looks like. It's like it's like a black cube for a head with just white eyes, no mouth. But it's wearing like a hat that's kind of like almost like a trucker hat, but the front of it is just like a metal plating with like 2 big screws in it.
He looks like if Chibi Robo went through puberty.
Yeah, and like if we're going by that, Chibi Robo got some thighs, let me tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
It has like a long tail that is a electrical cord with like a plug at the very end is the tip of the tail. Yeah, so this robot with like I don't know, it's crazy. Trying to start off with this. So like it just drops you right into the game, right? Like there's no like there's no splash page, no like press start, no option. It's just boom right into like the tutorial level before it opens up to another stage. And you can tell that like with this game, the biggest feature is the character, not so much the area. It's because it's all like tutorial-esque looking. Like a lot of the structures are just like grid, just like polygons, kind of slapped everywhere. Everything has like a grid texture to it, like very like pink and tan. Like it's just a lot of that going throughout it. But what's cool about it is it does help you. It kind of helps you open up what you can do and how to traverse as. I assume the name is just Blazing Dynamo. I'm just gonna say Dynamo.
You play as Bucket is the name of the character.
Bucket, right?
According to this here, yeah.
Oh, yep, there it is. My bad.
And this says you're filling up. You pull off different moves to fill up a heat gauge to then do a heat enhanced blaze move.
Yeah, so you had this gauge on you the whole time. It's like it's like a 3/4 wheel, and it has like it's sectioned off at 2 parts, so it's like 3 tiers to it. And over time, you start to build up heat. And if you hit L1 or like left bumper or whatever, that puts you with, like, you have these little like exhaust pipes come out of you, and that will boost, enhance any of your moves for the most part. Like you can jump higher, you can go further, your attacks will do more damage. So as soon as you fill that up, it's good to use it probably like ASAP, or else it will just go away on its own over time. It's similar to like how Mario can, like in Odyssey, how you can throw Cappy and use that as a platform to get you across. You can charge up this attack, and Buckets will do like a little spin attack, and out of its tail will shoot like this like blue aura like fire wave thing that can not only hurt enemies, but you can use that as a platform to jump off of. That's like the Cappy equivalent. And I forget which Castlevania games do it, but I know on DS you can do it, where like if you do like a sliding tackle and then hit that button again, you do like a little like arching like kick.
Yeah.
Buckets can do that in this.
That's really cool.
You can do like the Mario 64 dive, like head first and like kind of slide. You can pole vault off of things. You can jump off walls. There's just so much you can do. And I kind of got overwhelmed personally because like,
yeah,
just trying to because like after the tutorial level, you get to this bigger open stage, and it's like, all right, instead of using one battery to open the exit portal, you got to find like all the batteries, and the way to get to these places isn't so easy, at least for me. It's a bit of a learning curve to really try to understand the type of platforming you need to do to get around. But it's very cool, and it's such a good system, and I'm impressed that like one person is doing all this.
Yeah, it looks super fluid. Like I picked this one for you just because it looked like it reminded me a bit of that little slime one that we played. You were really into it, and then I played the demo of it.
Yeah. Where like the slime with the tongue, you're just kind of swinging everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that, like, you know what I mean, just like the 3D mobility and things like that. But
so
yeah, cool.
I mean,
Blazing Dynamo.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that one when it comes out, for sure. As they keep going with it.
The music, very Splatoon feeling too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the patch notes say they added wonderful music, and wonderful's in all caps. I didn't know what that meant, but I'm good with some Splatoon stuff. Last thing I've got for me was Sonic 3D Blast Extreme, which is recommended by Mark. I did not play this one or have it. I remember seeing a logo but didn't try it, and I did. And it's like single player Fall Guys that's actually good. It's got fantastic music. It's a fully realized game. Like, this is not just like, yo, here's a demo for Sonic Amateur Games Expo. This is 8 full worlds, each with bosses. Sonic has a health meter. I thought it had really interesting obstacles to get through the game, like not unlike Fall Guys. Like, Fall Guys could probably learn a thing or two, but it's just this neon 3D nightmare of fun. And when I say nightmare, I know that like nightmare, it gets used a lot as like a cool noun just because it's a great word. But like, this really truly felt like a nightmare. Like, just so surreal and weird, but like, I'm supposed to be here, but I'm not. Like, what am I doing? Why? What is this? Like, it gave me that sensation. I loved Sonic 3D Blast Extreme. Holy. So cool. So weird. It also helped that I was watching Game Center CX while I was playing it. So it something weird was going on. I don't know what was happening.
It's a fever dream.
It was
like,
very much that. My
favorite is, I mean, not only is the music like one of my favorite things, but like any of the boss fights in that game, it just looks like you're just fighting a bunch of random toys you would find at a flea market and nowhere else. And you just kind of threw it into like this jiggly Sonic with like one working leg. And all you have to do is just run into the enemy. You don't even have to jump on them. You just got to run into them to do damage.
Oh, see, I was avoiding running because I thought I'd get hurt. I was jumping.
You just run into them.
It took forever.
I don't know. I really love that there was no time to like congratulate you. Just like, all right, moving on.
Yeah, no, you're on to the next game. Let's go. We got to get through this. I loved this game, dude. This was a really, really fun time. Matt?
I wish my last game was as fun as that one. The last one was called Salaryman Shi, I believe, SHI.
Oh man, it wasn't good.
It's generic.
Uh,
So the problem number one, I think this was submitted to the wrong Amateur Games thing. I think they meant to submit it to Mario, not Sonic.
Well, that's why I picked it, because I know you like Super Mario World so much, and this looked like, a bit
I think
of that.
that's the problem. It looks too much like Super Mario World. It doesn't stand out. And all right, so let me rewind. This is a 2D platformer. Run left to right, have a timer, very Super Mario World-esque. Basis is you play as a businessman who needs to get to the end of level to get to the bus in time to go get to work and get his paycheck.
Perfect.
So you can jump, there's boxes to get power-ups and stuff, but the power-ups have to do with a briefcase, and the briefcase is your main tool, and there's 2 different ways or power-ups that let you to use your briefcase. There's one that like bounces up and down or ricochets off of objects or whatever, and you can use that to jump, or there's one where you throw it kind of like a frisbee but on an even plane, and you can use that almost like the Cappy, like jump on it and then jump again. The suitcase kind of ricochet, and you can like like a shell like you bounce off of, and you can use that as a jump almost like in the Super Mario World. But I had some serious problems mastering those two things. Like even like the first section of these levels, or the first level where like it's trying to like show you like, you know, it doesn't tell you how to do it. It's just like, all right, you get the power up, you have to get over, figure it out, kind of like. And I was like struggling to use these briefcases to the point where I started to get frustrated, and that's kind of when I stopped playing it. But I did not like that mechanic. And then just like, I mean, the first world looks something straight out of the first world of Super Mario World, besides a city background instead of a forest background. It is a complete game. The website, or the submission site, I guess, says it's coming to Steam and Switch soon. So
yeah, so there's like 15 levels in total with
I mean, I think there's some kind of potential there. Maybe a better tutorial for the briefcase would go a long way. I think something that unique might need like a different kind of approach than the traditional. Here are the tools. This is where you got to go figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like I said, I found it hard. I was also playing on an Xbox controller with the joystick, so precision may not have been in my favor. I don't think it was that. I just don't think I could.
Yeah, I had that with one of the games where like I couldn't use the D-pad, and it was like.
I couldn't wrap. Maybe it was like I couldn't. I think it was more I couldn't wrap my head around the concept or like the timing of things. Like I said, I mean, it wasn't like I tried it like once or twice and I was done with it. I had tried it quite a few amount of times to the point where like I ran out of time in the level because I couldn't figure it out. So, like I said, I think it's just a difficult mechanic. I think they tweaked it to either make it easier or introduce it in a different way. I think that could go a long way. But yeah, like it was like that problem, and then that problem led to me like, all right, well, this actually does look a lot like Mario.
Yeah,
I mean, the music was different enough. It wasn't anything memorable or special, but yeah, no, it was just very weird. It's like a Mario game and the Sonic submission thing, and it played like Mario, looked like Mario.
Dang,
I don't know. I guess I don't think there was anything wrong mechanically with the game. I think once you figure out the briefcase, actually, it's probably a lot of fun. I think it needs an extra little tutorial step.
Mark, you got one more for us?
Yeah. So this one's called Project Rascal. And I will say, out of everything that I've played, I am most impressed by this one.
Dang.
This is probably...
I thought it was going to be the other one.
Yeah. Well, just like overall, like this one, I did not expect to like this one as much as I did by the end of it. Because like even at first, like the character design was a little iffy to me. I just wasn't. I just don't know who Rascal is exactly.
He's like a gumball wearing shorts with a body.
Yeah, but you can tell that like some effort is put into this. Like, I mean, not that anyone's before that didn't have any, but like.
No, there's certain projects that felt like they were further along, and you know.
But the character kind of reminded me of like the character designs from like Chameleon Twist 2 a little bit, but like with like a little more attitude. And it's like you could feel the Sonic inspiration in this. Like the soul of Sonic is in this, and that doesn't take away from what they have here. In my opinion, but like I could see this also being a Sonic game or just being its own thing. I think that's really cool. But yeah, it's just like this grand 3D platformer. It's like almost imagine like just about all the complaints of Sonic's controls in 3D games fixed. Just like the way you run, like the ball mode that he can go into, it's just his head when he's in ball mode, but you're able to bounce like Sonic. You're able to kind of do like a drop dash type thing. You can charge up in that ball form, and it's just so seamless between that and running, and like jumping, like the physics with that and the momentum. Like everything it doesn't feel too tight. It doesn't feel too floaty. Like you could tell they put a lot of their effort into like the quality of these controls, and they give you such a grand layout to like kind of run around and then try it out. Like there's like 2 tutorial-esque stages that you can voluntarily just run into and just try out the different physics of everything, or you can go right into the one stage they have designed for you, which is kind of like a very like island, broken down like white building like city, like there's like crashed pirate ships all over the place and just random islands to jump to. With that, there's like some piers connecting between them all. So if you remember like the first stage of Sonic Adventure, where like you're running through those little piers and like before the whale is chasing you, like you'll go so fast that like you'll hit corners that have like these weird like ropes that will bounce you off the corners and just like keep going. There was a lot of that in this as well. Like there's some zip lining you can do. You can like do major jumps off of like big umbrellas to get to higher places. There's the cool hit detection with this. There's not really enemies in this game, but you will see like a highlighted indicator for any object that Rascal can interact with, and you will immediately home to that thing, which is a really nice, like there's a big window for it, so it's really forgiving if you're not on time with seeing it or whatever. So I think that's also very cool, very important. But there's this barrel that's like kind of just hanging above this little patch of sand, and when you break into it, it turns into a surfboard. Like a plank of it turns into a surfboard, and you can start going along the water that way. You can like grind on rails and kind of zip through stuff that way for a little bit too. And even when you like make it to somewhere you're not supposed to surf, like it doesn't penalize you. Like you'll just automatically be back on foot. And it is a little weird to navigate because of how open it is, but I think it's also being incentivizing for exploring and just kind of getting the feel of Rascal as you're going. And it just, I didn't want it to end with him because just how cool it was to just jump around and to like have that momentum and just keep trying to like, you keep trying to go back. Like I actually went back into the demo. I think I played like 2 or 3 more times, just trying to string together my platforming without losing momentum. And like that part is a little tough to do, but the whole time I just felt good doing it. But like everything about this, like the level design, the character design, the gameplay, the music, everything feels so original. And yet you can see the inspiration, like I said before, it like that doesn't take away the spotlight of what Rascal is compared to Sonic. But at the same time, I also wanted this to be a Sonic game because the way he poses and moves around is definitely Sonic. But
I think this team made Sonic GT, which is Grand Tour, and I think it's 4 levels you can play through. That one released for last year's Expo, so you can go back and play that one. I think they took a lot of what they learned making that to then start their own project here. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that one stacks up against Project Rascal. But yeah, this one seems
very solid,
neat. Yeah. So is this your pick of the ones you played? If someone was going to play one of them, would it be Project Rascal?
I think so. If you're going to go for one that's like not where Sonic is a main character, I think I would definitely vote for this one.
Matt, you have a pick out of your chunk?
I mean, mine would be that Nebula Ball thing, but like I think it was a demo.
It's a smaller experience, but that doesn't discount it. I think that you could still have fun with that. If that's out of the ones you played,
what I played, that was my favorite.
I would give it to Sonic Discover. I think that they've got something intriguing there in a 2D way. That they make a good Sonic game, and it does feel like Sonic, but they introduced enough elements that are outside of Sonic that made it exciting. Generally, I thought that like everything I looked at and played or just looked at clips of and stuff, I thought everything was really, really cool, and I like that there's this central thing that happens annually for people to show their projects off, all like in the name of that single Sonic community.
And the one Mario game.
And the one Mario, yeah. But like, we don't see. I don't know of a Mario Amateur Games Expo. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
I mean,
but yeah,
Blazing Dynamo would be in there for sure.
Right. So there's this was neat, and I want to see. I believe at the end of it, they kind of like come together with big showcase and everything. Like I think submissions are still accepted up until this weekend, maybe. Yeah. So
shout out to all the
more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really, really impressive stuff. And we'll have links to everything we talked about. Of course, you can go check out everything over on the forums there. Comment on things. There's Sonic the Hedge blog has been doing a great job at showing off some of the ones that have been shared. So we're going to take a break. And when we get back, we're going to talk more video games, more news, more things. Right after this. Last week, we talked about emergent gameplay and how systems can combine to create stories. But what about when developers take the time to create something in an environment that's just fun to interact with? You could, in a way, probably make reference to the entirety of everything you can do in Shenmue. But instead, maybe you do. Maybe I want to hear from you guys what your favorite interactive environments are. The first one that came to mind for me was... There's a pinball machine or like a something machine you can play inside of the diners in Final Fantasy 15 that I remember just like being enamored with and having fun like on the side when I should have been doing something else. But yeah, man, it's going to be a Final Fantasy 15 week, isn't it? And you know what else too? That PlayStation thing's happening that I bet they're going to talk about Final Fantasy 16 and it's all just kind of
shit, should I wait? Oh, no, I don't want on PlayStation. I don't have enough hard drive space. I got all the Souls games on there right now. Literally all of them.
You can get rid of the original, can't you?
I mean, I can.
Dark Souls?
But it's cool. It's cool when you bring up the switcher. I mean, I've ruined it recently because I've been playing baseball again. But like the switcher had literally Dark Souls 2, and Demon Souls.
That's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, Final Fantasy 15. That was the first one that came to mind for me. I remember that being the interactive thing. I think that too also had the radio dial in the car you could adjust physically with the thing, which is a neat, dumb little thing. But I've got a couple more. But what about you guys? Any favorite interactive environments or pieces, set pieces?
You have it here as an example, lockpicking. Because of that, it got me thinking immediately about lockpicking. The old Splinter Cell games had the most satisfying lockpicking system ever, where you like had to like you went to lockpick and it brought up this like UI that showed like the core of a key, and you had to like toggle back and forth between the different pins and knock on the pins, and you had to see which ones budged and didn't. And if you knocked too hard, you like locked yourself out.
Oh, that's
it was
cool.
a very satisfying thing when like you tap and the pin went up. That I've never. I mean, I think people think about the Fallout lock picking system. Far more satisfying than that.
Oh wow, because even that one was pretty good.
Yeah, no, far more satisfying. I like the Fallout one.
It took me a lifetime to figure that out in Splinter Cell. I just never understood how it worked, and I always broke it every time.
Is there at least a satisfying break where it feels good to break something, or not at all?
Maybe not.
No, because then you're locked out the door.
Oh yeah,
it's a good sound, but yeah.
Mark, do you have a favorite interactive element or environment piece?
Pretty much anything in a Rockstar game.
Yeah, I had a lot of those examples coming to mind.
But
too.
because Red Dead, I like doing the card games. I like doing Liar's Dice, specifically in that. But aside from that, like the first ones I would think of would be like attacking the cuckoos in Zelda. That was a satisfying one until it's always a challenge. You know, you're playing with fire with that one. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you outrun them? Can you? Will you live? But I always love that. And then gambling in Pokemon.
That was my answer.
Was it?
There's another one I had. Yeah. But I loved that, especially because, and I thought of you, but like I remember that's how you got the Porygon in the first games. And it was like, that was so cool that there was an actual, because sometimes it's nice just to have a side game to play, but to have an actual reward. And in that game, you could not get that, outside of trading from any other opportunity. So
yeah,
it was cool. I also really like, I think it's the next evolution of Shenmue, but just Yakuza, everything you can do in the Yakuza series. Like,
oh yeah,
of the ones I've played, like just between, and not unlike Shenmue, just playing arcade games, playing old console games and stuff.
That dancing mini
but also
game.
like going to the what?
The dancing mini game?
Yeah, dude, like dancing, the baseball, doing the batting cages, going to a photo booth, karaoke. Like there's just so many little interactive things you can do in that. Yeah, a lot of fun. Matt?
I mean, they're mini games, but like if we're going into like card things, I gotta shout out Gwent, and I gotta shout out Blitzball, Final Fantasy X. I still think I am the only person that played that game that likes Blitzball, but I'm gonna stand by it.
Yeah, no, those are. I still need to play. Maybe I should play 10 this week too. I got too many Final Fantasy games to play apparently, but yeah. Yeah, those are kind of like wholly realized or well realized little side experiences that you could probably just make a whole spin-off game in and of themselves. Yeah, they did do that, right?
Fable, for Fable 2, I believe. They had the pub games you could download separately.
Pub games, that's what it was.
Before the game came out, and all the currency you got from that card game would transfer over to your character.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good shit.
Yeah, I've been doing some interactive environment testing this week. I bought a soda and a fresh water from a vending machine. I could have also bought a lemonade, but I did not. But I'm wandering through the region of Unova for the first time. I completely skipped Pokemon Black when it came out. It came out in 2011, so it's 10 years old now. And when it came out, I remember I was not in that phase of like, I'm too cool for this. I'd gone through that and I'd been on the other side of it. But I remember at the time being a little dismissive of Pokemon Black because it was like, who are all these Pokemon? What are we doing? Why? What is this? I don't want to play this. And now I love it entirely. It's weird because, I like that what they did with this is the 5th generation, right? And all of the Pokemon in the game are brand new. There's no Pikachu, there's no Eevees, there's no Mewtwo, there's nothing. So you get this like brand new, fresh experience because you're not tied to any of that old stuff. The core of it's there. You're still collecting Pokemon, you're still fighting trainers, you're still exploring a world, finding secrets, and there's a bad team and all of that stuff. But yeah, there's no like hard tie to the legacy. And I love that now. Like again, like 10 years ago I dismissed it and thought it was silly and weird and like why wouldn't you have Pokemon that I know? But now I'm like, it sucks because like I already know the Pokemon from playing, Gen 6, Gen 7, and Gen 8. But it does still feel brand new in a way because it's like you're experiencing this world where there is no familiarity. So there's that piece. I like the way that this also, I'm like trying to contextualize with the time. They did a lot of things with Pokemon Black that kind of bucked the conventions of what you'd expect in a Pokemon game. So it feels refreshing as someone who's played all or most of the core series, but I think you could also approach it as a brand new player and be just fine. For example, the beginning of the game, right? You guys know how every Pokemon game starts. You tell the professor your name. You start off in your bedroom. You wake up. You go down. You find the professor. They give you a thing. There's a rival. No, it's not that at all. It is, but it's not at all. It starts off and very quickly, like the professor's just in your bedroom or like talking to you or something. And they're like, who are you? You give them your name. Then they're like, okay, cool. Nice to meet you. Here's 2 other people. and they're named characters who's Bianca and Sharon. I forget the guy's name. I don't remember. They're your two rivals in the game, but they're almost like a support system. They kind of like show up at key story beats and stuff like that. Immediately before you even like get out of the main bedroom, they're like, hey, we have a message we have to read from the professor. We have to pick our first Pokemon. Just right into it. You pick your Pokemon, and then they're like, okay, well, then I'll take this one. Hey, we should have a battle real quick. You just battle in the room, and after you're done battling, the whole room's just destroyed in chaos and whatever. And you're like, whoops, and you go downstairs, and Mom's like, did you guys have a battle upstairs? And you're like, we sure did. Sorry about the mess. And she's like, it's fine, you rascals. Get on out of here. And you go through, and then you do the like standard, Pokemon catching tutorial. But it's just kind of like you can quickly watch through the professor do it, and then she gives you 5 Pokeballs. So you don't have to like, some of the games you'd have to make your way to the first town, wait until you could do something to come back to get a whatever to then unlock the shop. Like, yeah. All that stuff is streamlined. You just like boom, boom, boom. You've got Pokeballs. You can jump kind of right into it. By the time you get to the first like big open, like the first route, like Route 2 or whatever, you're walking through and your mom calls you. You have a prototype Apple Watch kind of thing in a way. It's a 4-way phone call communicator device. That's a bracelet, whatever, but it's like a magic phone. So your mom calls you and she's like, hey, hold up a second. And then you like turn around and she's right behind you to give you running shoes. So you get them right off at the beginning. It's just like they took all of those things that you used to have to work for and they put them right up front. And I think later games would do that. Like the more recent Sword and Shield, the fact that they like removed the need for HMs and things like that, I think furthered the game along in terms of like quick startup and like getting into the core of it a lot faster. But this is like, it still keeps the original tradition of the game while just letting you kind of cut right through. The team for the first time is an actual cool team that I'm like, okay. They're called Team Plasma. And their whole thing is that they're stealing Pokemon, just like the rest of the teams and every other thing. But they're doing it because they think that it's like they're freeing the Pokemon. They think that it's a bad thing that the people of this world decide to capture them in little balls and make them perform and fight and all that stuff. So they're trying to do that by, whatever. And they have this, there's like you feel their motivations and you're kind of like, yeah, I get that. I can see where you're coming from on this one. So they have like an actual whatever, but they're still the bad guys, so you have to fight them. And there's a lot more involvement from all of the gym leaders. So although this is based in New York, and I did finally get to the New York, Manhattan-esque place, which is like this huge sprawling city. It's super cool and like wild that they, like thinking about it again, like on the DS, not 3DS, but DS, like seeing what they were able to do on that is really neat. And anyway, so as you move through, like gym leaders are constantly like popping up in the story, and like you haven't fought them yet or met them. You're meeting them for the first time as they like come along and they're like, what's the commotion here? Who are these? Why is Team Plasma? You know what I mean? Like they're constantly like interacting, and you get to know their characters a bit. So by the time you fight them, it seems like much more like the show was, right? Where like you were kind of running into these people on the street or whatever, and then you're like, oh, you're the one I'm going to fight for the badge, right? Yeah, cool. Let's go do that. And oh, I can have a badge? No, thank you very much. Yes, I'll raise Pokemon up to level 30. Anyway, yeah, it's streamlined. I hope that I think I've been saying this for a while, but I hope the next generation does what this one did again and just reset. Give me 150 brand new Pokemon. Yeah, obviously, like, I pay for Pokemon Home and all that stuff, so I want to bring my legacy stuff with me. But let me do that later. I don't need to do it up front. Like, I'd like to have a brand new world that can kind of stand on its own. I do miss some of the modern conventions, like being able to press a single button in mid-battle to view like a move's description. Because right now you can't do that unless you're outside of battle. So there's little things where I'm like, is Leo the defense or the speed? You know what I mean? I'm like, which one does that drop? But yeah, I really like Pokemon Black, and I like that it's the only Pokemon game in the main line. I guess Sun and Moon did it, but there's a Black 2 and a White 2, which is weird and cool, and I'm excited to see how this all progresses. It's the first game in a while too where like I'm actively going into every building I can and talking to strangers on every floor to figure out whatever. I'm like digging through trash cans. I was a little disappointed that when I got to the actual core city, I opened a trash can and it still said the trash can is empty. Where like I felt like if anything, the city would have been the spot, But they do a cool thing like mid center of the city. Did you guys play X and Y? Mark, you played Y, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember when you got to Kalos, like the core where like the Eiffel Tower was and everything, Prism Tower. It was like that. You had little like alleyways you could go down, and like it was a big sweeping city. Yeah. That was a rip off of this, man. Like this did it first, and like you go through, and because it's New York and everybody's so busy, you're like walking, and there's NPC models. They're 3D character models that are like walking toward the screen past you. And you know how it is. Even if a Pokemon or a character is like on a set path, you can stand in front of them and try and interact with them. They will go around you because they've got stuff to do. Because at first, when you get there, I was like, there's like one or two people wandering around. This is supposed to be like New York. But then you actually walk down an alleyway and it's like, there's people lined up outside of stores to get in. There's people rushing by you that you literally can't interact with at all. There's like stores with multiple floors. Like everything's a department store. It's a really, really wild experience. I like this one a lot. But it made me think like this is a sequel and also kind of a reboot in a way, but also still like it's one in the series. And I don't know that there's been a, like outside of something like Final Fantasy 15, for example, I don't think there's been a sequel to a game in a series that's also acted as like a reboot, but also still part of the. But do you guys have maybe God of War?
That was gonna be my example, honestly.
Yeah, like that is technically like God of War 5 or whatever.
Resident Evil 7.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean that's basically like a soft boot, Yeah. I mean, because it's the 7th in the series, but it's the first time it's ever been first person. It's a character that doesn't have a military or like form of combat training background. You're just some dude,
Yeah, and you can like jump right into 7 without ever playing the other ones and be fine.
Yeah, and then like of course like, but it still follows like the same tropes of a Resident Evil game. It always starts off creepy, always ends with like a lab or something, or what have you, and then still stays true to form.
Modern Warfare 2019, that campaign, like it retconned, but then it didn't retcon at the same time. It was very weird how that game ended with how they trying to place that in the timeline. So totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a good example too. Like that's another big franchise that can continue to like weave the I guess they're more common than I thought, but yeah, they're
probably a little more common today just because of how games are being approached. But I think during Pokemon Black's time, not as out there for sure.
I think if you guys know, I get the itch for Pokemon a few times a year and I scratch it in different ways. But this week I went this direction with it. And I think I had thought about like going back to Heart Gold, cause I still have the little Pokewalker thing for that too.
I found mine.
So I was going to put a new battery in it and try and.
I found my Pokewalker, but I don't have Soul Silver. But.
But, I thought about that, like, do I go back that route or something? And I was like, why go back and play something I already played? I haven't played Black. Why don't I just try Black? And
which is weird, because I thought you did. I, for some reason, thought you played Black before. But
it seems like I should have, right? But
maybe I'm probably confusing it with another one.
But I think if you ever have you find yourself with that itch, and you're like, I kind of want to do this one, dude. Like,
was Black the first one on DS, or was that X?
That was Diamond and Pearl were on DS first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Black was after. Yeah, Diamond and Pearl were 2006 because they're 15 years old this year.
Like, because that and Heart Gold, Soul Silver, that's all like Gen 4. And then like
it
Black
was
after that, I think.
2006 were Diamond and Pearl. I guess Platinum would have been 2007. What did they do after? Because Heart Gold would... Maybe this is where like the years started to get a little spread out a bit, but Heart Gold, Soul Silver were 2009. And then Black was 2010 Japan, early 2011 for us. And then Black 2, I think, was 2012. And then X and Y were the first 3D
so
ones.
I was
and they
way
were...
off. Okay, all right.
No. I had the same thing too. The other day I was like, wait, where were Heart Gold, Soul Silver after this or before or whatever?
Because like
the neat thing about this is, in addition to Heart Gold and Soul Silver's time of day, this also adds seasonal element stuff to it. Yeah. So I've already gone from winter into spring, which happens pretty quickly, but still kind of neat.
And at the time, they used to Wii's Pokemon Ranch before Pokemon Home was a thing.
Right. Yeah. Black, I think, was the first one that supported Pokemon Bank. Like, they made Bank so that you could get from Black to X and Y.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's cool. There's a lot of stuff that I can't do. Like, you're supposed to be able to do the IR sensor on the DS, but I'm not playing on a DS, playing on 2DS that does not have that thing. And I also am not playing with anybody else who's playing the game, so there's not a lot of that interactivity I can do. But yeah, those types of things. They're still there. I don't know how well the wireless stuff works. I'm connecting to something, but it uses the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which that's been dead for some time. So I'd
rip.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, man, I really like Black, and I would recommend it. I hope they do remakes of those, and I hope that Gen 9 is start from scratch. For sure. Yeah, that's not the only game from more than a decade ago that we've been playing this week. Mark, you've jumped into Sonic Colors Ultimate.
I sure have, and boy, what a long time coming, I guess. I say that because I never thought I'd be playing this. But I played Forces, so I don't have much of an excuse. So here I am. And I pre-ordered the digital deluxe edition of this, so I got it 3 days earlier than its actual date, I guess. For listeners, you'll be able to play it tomorrow if you didn't get the digital one. But this was originally a Wii game, and I never played it on Wii. My experience with it originally was hearing the trailer over and over and over and over as I worked at GameStop. So I always heard that Owl City-like song about every 5 or 10 minutes for a couple months. And I wasn't playing the Wii that much outside of Smash Brothers Brawl or Wii Sports. So I wanted absolutely nothing to do with this. And then what got into Sonic Generations, right? Like we played that, and you know how much I am of a fan of the Wisps. Love those things. And then they just kind of took over the Chows, and I was kind of salty about that.
But so they were we first experienced them in Generations, and they weren't fun there.
No,
but they are the core gameplay or the core power-ups, I should say, of Sonic Colors. So how is that in Ultimate? Like, are you enjoying them?
Yes.
In context?
I actually am. A lot about this game I ended up really enjoying, and it's kind of hard to put down here and there, and I was always skeptic when people would praise this game because I just knew nothing about it. I just judged it by that song. I'm like, well, it's a bad song, it's a bad game. That's just
fair.
Yeah, right.
I do the same shit.
I don't know, because people praised Unleashed, and I got far enough in that to where I was like, no, I'm sorry. Like the Sonic parts.
That?
John
Look,
Carpenter.
The Sonic community, you don't.
John Carpenter's done one thing successfully. Okay.
The Sonic community is a beehive you don't want to fuck with.
You look too far in the right direction, everybody will like something.
Right. It's kind of like Zelda in that sense, but a little more wild. You know, 'cause you have 2D Sonic, 3D Sonic, you know, what, blah, 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 whatever. But with this, you know, it's not just a port. This is like quality of life improvements all around, even like adding new things. So like, you know, like we're saying, this is the Wisp's debut. They're like the focal point of the story of this game. They are like the power-ups. They went as far as even adding a new one that wasn't even in this game. It was in Team Sonic Racing originally, which is the Jade Wisp, which I believe is the one that turns you into a ghost and that puts you into new places you haven't been before. So whenever like Sonic uses a Wisp's power, like they kind of like fuse, and so like Sonic gets kind of Mario Kirby like in a way where like he kind of becomes the power up, and you kind of see his face within it, and with that you can do different things. And it kind of reminded me of Mario in some ways too with these power ups. You know, like you can't stack them like Mario World. You're gonna have one at a time, so you can't like switch between them or anything like that. But like there was one where you turn into a cube. And because of the cube, it will only, like, it can destroy any, like, block, like, breakable blocks around you and any enemies within, like, a radius. But there are these specific blocks tailored to this cube power-up where you have blue cubes and blue rings. And whenever you slam as the cube, it's like the P block in Mario. The rings become blocks, and the blocks become rings. So it opens up a new way to kind of get around, and it's all on this like meter that is slowly burning. Like every wisp, it lasts as long as that meter is going. But you can do that. You could be a rock and shoot straight up. You could be a drill, go through the ground and find new ways. You could be a big spiky pink wheel that climbs all along these walls and obstacles you couldn't normally scale vertically or anything. Yeah, there's ones where you can just kind of hover and kind of do like the light speed dash where you find like a path of rings and you'll just kind of go along that. So, yeah, so like they take some moves from prior games, but at the same time, this is one of those newer Sonic games where you're not spin dash Sonic anymore, you're boost Sonic. So, there's no ducking, there's no charging up into a ball. That's only as the Spike Wisp. That's like the closest you're gonna get. Otherwise, you're just full boost mode. And this does, just like Generations and just like Sonic the Hedgehog 4, it does that kind of dumb, like, idle stance Sonic has, where it looks like they didn't give him an actual pose when he's standing there. He's just, like, super stiff and, like, sideways. And it's like, alright, whatever, it's fine. But, despite all that, this game does a good job of it just being Sonic, running through a level, and there's not much bullshit that stops you. Now, they do incentivize you kind of taking your time and not rushing through a level to find different pathways to get different collectibles. So, you might get stopped.
What are the collectibles are they?
The collectibles are just mostly the red rings with like a star in them.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, sure.
And those will, once you get all those, they unlock these bonus stages that you do. That's how you get the Chaos Emeralds. They're not like portals or things you jump throughout the stage. After you collect enough rings, you go into like this weird Eggman simulation where you play as a robot version of Sonic. It's just Sonic but with like no pupils and has like a metal torso. And you can do a co-op, but it's all like 2D side-scrolling, very basic platforming little levels. And each Chaos Emerald has like their own amount of levels. So like the Green Emerald, like that's the first one. So it's I only have 1-1 available. I have to get more rings to get 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. It's same for each Chaos Emerald. That's how you get those in this game. So you can kind of do it at your own pace, and that's like the reason for going back to prior levels and trying to get those rings. And also, as you're going along the way, going throughout between these worlds, you're unlocking new wisps, and those you can use to go back to older levels with the new wisps to find those red rings. So that's kind of how they got that going.
Okay, this makes sense.
But the story of the game, so like, you know how like every like classic Sonic level has like a cool like amusement park level, even 3D ones? Imagine if every world is an amusement park.
I'm listening.
So Eggman has this like outer space theme park thing going on, and each there's like 1, 2, 3. There's about 6 or 5 worlds chained to the center hub, but each one is a different theme of like a type of amusement park. And there's even one that's still like under construction, but obviously it's all a front for him to take over the Wisps and everyone else through mind control. He wants to use the Wisps to mind control people. And Sonic's there to exploit that and squash it. So you're breaking the chains as you're going. Each world has like 7 zones, and they're kind of short, which is pretty cool. Like, they're very digestible levels. You can get like a level done in like 2 to 3 minutes or something like that. Some of them feel even quicker than that sometimes. But it always ends with a boss fight. They're kind of rinse repeat. They kind of alternate, but it's still good.
Get a load of this.
That's the thing. Like, it hasn't really been Eggman for any of these boss fights either. It's been like whatever creations he's had, some weird robot thing. They're usually ships that you're taking down with like a pilot that will jump off of it here and there that you fight. So it's like Mario 3 inspired a little bit. I don't know, but still kind of cool. The rest of the music in this game, amazing. Was not expecting that after hearing Owl City. Or whoever.
That's good. That's refreshing.
Yeah, like, it's actually, and like they do such a good job of making the music match the theme of each world. And like, there was one world I wasn't really looking forward to because it's like underwater looking, and a lot of it, you are underwater, but it's not bad. Like, you can actually navigate. Like, you constantly jumping is you kind of going up, so like you can kind of swim in a sense. You're just like in ball form, just kind of going up. But a lot of it is underwater tubes that you're running through, and it has a very like Japanese inspired theme to it all. So you have like the gates that you run through, and all the robots have katanas, and the music sounds like something you'd hear in like Mystical Ninja or something like that. It's
nice.
Now the tracks that we've used or that we played in with like Team Sonic Racing or I think Sonic All-Stars might have used a level or 2 from Sonic Colors. Now I get it. Like, the Rainbow Road that kind of like deletes behind you, but is also being formed in front of you. Like, that whole one, it's like a neon crazy like carnival ride. Like, like those ships that kind of rock back and forth. It's like a lot of those things going around. You're just surrounded by like neon glowing, hovering amusement park rides. That whole world, fucking amazing. That's probably my favorite one. Even the music, superb. But yeah, like, there's so many quality of life improvements from this game, from the Wii one. Like, you don't have lives anymore. Tails saves you now.
Sure.
And
yeah, I mean,
not only that, but like, you don't have to worry about starting off from a checkpoint.
Tails has saved me for years.
But I think he does it the best in this one because, if you're between checkpoints, you don't have to worry, or like maybe you didn't get a checkpoint. That's okay, because he will actually drop you off where you last fell off or something like that.
Oh, that's nice.
So you don't have to always worry about starting over from the very beginning. So yeah, like, you don't have to worry about getting a game over. The game isn't punishing like that anymore because there's no lives.
Is that like a toggle thing you can turn on or off though?
That I'm not sure. I know you can toggle.
You're looking for hardcore mode?
Maybe.
Yeah, because Crash 4 at the very start of it gave you the option of like, do you want to use traditional lives or do you want to use a more like user friendly?
The only thing I've seen
like live experience
was like toggling tips. Like, do you want those on or off? And I kept them on. But that, I don't know, like, the options were very limited in this. I was kind of surprised because I was having issues with the audio originally. Like, whenever it was transitioning to like 3D to 2D, and I was like, this whole game honestly could just be 3D. Didn't need to be 2D, but that's beside the fact. Like, whenever it was 2D, I was only hearing things out of one side of my headphones. It was weird, but I had to go into my PC settings and kind of fix that because I had it on like a 4-speaker like surround mode, but like 2 front, 2 back, but like the 2 back were super faint. You can never really hear them well. So they just weren't loud. So I thought they were off.
Just update the drivers. It fixes that.
Yeah, and like there's no video settings for PC.
Oh.
Like, it's just like hey, do you want VSync or do you want like full? There's no resolution settings. It's just full screen or windowed or something like that. Like Is
it a Steam app?
You
bought it through Steam?
This is Epic Games. It's only available through Epic on PC.
Okay.
But I guess it just knows what my resolutions are. I probably could go through NVIDIA and do it that way if I wanted to, like,
sure.
I guess customize it.
I mean, I guess it's looking at your system settings for that. I mean, because there's no way, like, if you had a 1080p monitor and someone else bought it a 1440, like, it's got to be looking at something there.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I mean,
adjust that.
Yeah, like, I guess it scales. I'm not too sure, but yeah. So with all that, like, I think this game, even though I never played the original, I can sense that they did a lot of things to this to make it stand today and make it be available and more accessible today than it was back then. And I feel like they listened to a lot of complaints. But
because I wonder how many of those wisps were bound to some sort of like waggle or pointing or something like
right.
that, with it being weak.
And that's probably why a lot of the levels were very short too, because the way that the controls are, you know, and Nintendo just being very, hey, take a break after 10 minutes, every time. But like, the biggest things for me with this, and I wanted to extend this to the two of you, was like, I had no interest in this game for the longest time, and then like when they advertised it for this version, I was starting to like consider it, because now I'm a little more open-minded with games. At least, you know, I like to think that, and trying as many Sonic games as I have, I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm kind of devoted to playing at least every single one, whether I like it or not, just to have that experience.
Yeah.
And then ended up being super surprised by how much I like it. I'm almost 4 hours in. I'm almost done, I feel. I have like maybe 2 more worlds left to save or something like that before a final fight. And it was just fun to like just to go in, do a world, take a little break of something to eat, go back into it. I don't know. I was really impressed by how much I like this game. And now I get all the hype around it. Like it's a good, decent, legit 3D Sonic game that doesn't have a lot of bullshit tied to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to play this one this week.
But it got me thinking, like, is there a game that you've avoided for so long, but you were surprised to like it once you played it?
Pokemon Black.
So probably Final Fantasy 15.
Honestly, my answer for this is Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Last year, I played through that and loved it.
Yeah.
I remember it getting a bad rap at launch for a couple of reasons. I remember, and I just kind of like wrote it off because I liked the original Lords of Shadow enough, but it just didn't feel Castlevania-esque to me. So when the second one came along and it just kind of got panned, I didn't bother to go back to it. And then when I finally did last year, I was like, man, whatever, it wasn't the time for me to play it back then, but I'm happy that I did play through it because I thought that they did a lot of interesting things with the story and with like the powers you get, once Gabriel has become Dracula, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I remember that game or that series just not receiving too many receptions, just because like in that era of time, it was just, everything was God of War inspired. Old God of War, so the comparisons were just always there.
It sucks how much we get caught up in the hype of it all. Like because I totally did, and I would just regurgitate whatever thing I heard about it, and to an extent, like, not to like sell my former self short, like it did feel like that. Like when you played through Lords of Shadow, like it very much was God of War, Shadow of the Colossus style stuff. Like it was like, they saw those games, they saw they were good. Let's do what they did, but make a Castlevania game. But to me, I remember also like not really appreciating Lords of Shadow 1 until you got to the castle. But even once you got to the castle and it was this cool like gothic framework, the first thing they have you do is stop playing the game and play a game of chess with a ghost girl, which was fun because I at that time had like coincidentally gotten into chess, but it was just like, what are we doing here? So yeah, and then like the 3DS game did not look good. It got really bad reviews, and that too I'm excited to go through eventually at some point. I've got the HD version on Xbox, so I want to see what that one is at whatever. Because that team would later go on to make Metroid Samus Returns, the upcoming Metroid Dread. You know what I mean? So it's not like they make bad games. And yeah, anyway, I like Lords of Shadow 2 a whole lot and never would have given it a shot previously.
Nice.
I think that's like the whole Japanese anime genre as a whole more recently has become more, not palatable is a bad word, but like I'm more interested. But I guess like a great example is like Shin Megami Tensei. Not that like I avoided it, but like there is probably me whenever Direct they announced 5 at where we recapped it and I did not say anything about Shin Megami Tensei because I did not care and never knew it, whatever.
Right.
And then just like in a week, I watched that weird launch trailer for Nocturne, the HD. I buy it, just taking a leap of faith because it looked cool, it looked random as hell. And then it's like, I haven't played it in weeks, but like it's in my mind. I love that game. And yeah, I'm like so excited for 5 when it comes out.
Every day I see those little like daily demon update things. I'm like, I can't wait for 5. Like that game, it just looks so good too. Yeah, I had that too. I think there's a lot of those games that came from Japan that were so like, we got them so late that it felt like, where do I even start? You know? Yeah. And that was one of those series too, where same thing. Ben and I had this conversation a couple months back. And it's like, like, there's too many, right? Like, do you start with one of the numbered ones? If you do, how far back do you go? Should you just play Persona instead? And it was like, you know, I think it's kind of like a Final Fantasy thing. Like, your first one's always your favorite one, whatever. But I think you just kind of pick one and go for it.
Yeah, and that's kind of leading me to my next question with that, because with Sonic Colors, I'm noticing like these updates and like these improvements. It feels like now, like with homing attacks, for example, like if you wait long enough, you'll see a little green ring indicator pop up around a target, and that is called a sweet spot. And you'll have like a rainbow trail, and you get like a little bonus, or like you maybe jump a little further, or you pull off tricks a little cooler with those sweet spots. Like, especially with boss fights, you do more damage with them. Or if you grab like the 100 ring, you're invincible for a little bit. So that might help you maybe get through some tough parts or something. But for me, I'm now seeing that like this might be a game I would recommend to people who haven't played a 3D Sonic before. I think this might be a good entry point for them because of these improvements and how like I feel like it considers the player a little more in that sense, and there's not so much attached to it to be overwhelmed by either. Like it kind of has that vibe of like a classic Sonic feel where you just go right into it and play the game, not have to worry about all these other systems going on in the background. Not that really Sonic ever really had that much, but this seems one that's it just feels more approachable and probably have a better chance of having a better time with it. And like with that, like, so with something like that, when you are trying to like recommend a game to somebody, whether they've played a game or haven't really played many or not, like, what do you look for to qualify it as a good entry point?
Matt, you have I didn't know if Matt was going.
Oh.
I didn't want to cut him off.
Oh no, I was trying to point. Like, you can go first.
Oh, I think it depends on the game and it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I think it's tough because like the reason why I would recommend one thing to someone might be different for the other person, but so yeah, like, you know, the aforementioned Shin Megami Tensei thing, when Ben and I were talking about it, it was like, I think we were talking about it specifically because there was a Saturn only and Japan only version that I don't think had been translated here yet. But we both thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
But it was like, well, can't play that one, so what else do we do? And in that case, I ended up recommending the Strange Journey on 3DS that I played because that one had been remade to refine some things. I know that Ben likes the movie The Thing, and this takes place in Antarctica. So it was kind of like, you know, there's those things. So like in that case, like I knew a person and I knew their background, so I could make that recommendation. But like, I probably wouldn't make that same recommendation for either of you, knowing you two. Like if I were picking an SMT game, like Actually, Matt, I think you picked the right one with 3, right? Like that's like it's modernized in a way, but still rooted in some classic stuff. Actually, Matt, maybe I would have picked like I don't know. I don't know.
I too like the thing.
Steven, you should play Strange Journey Redux. Yeah, but again, it's
like
it's tough. There's other games that are like wholly recommendable. Like just play Symphony of the Night if you haven't played it. But at the same time, like if someone came to me, like I think I feel more confident making recommendations for games and franchises that I've played a lot and know a lot of the differences between them, right? So like I think of a Castlevania, for example, like if one of you came to me and said, which Castlevania should I play? The answer is going to be different for both of you. Like, especially me knowing like kind of what you've both already played. Like Matt, you need to play Rondo of Blood next, like immediately. And Mark, you need to play
Symphony of the Night.
I think you more need to play. This is tough. Either
my history is mostly the DS games.
I was gonna say you probably need to play Order of Ecclesia if you haven't.
Yeah. That seems like the next natural route.
Yeah, or go do like Lords of Shadow or Lords of Shadow 2, because those are more like you could get lost in them for a while, and those big 3D environments are things where like you would just mess around with and have a good time. But yeah, I think sorry that I got way out in the weeds there, but I think that's the idea. Is like I look for things that I know differences and I know the person I'm recommending it to.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the same way, right? I think it depends on the person, but like also like, you know, depending on what the franchise is, if the story matters, like, you know, it's very hard. The Metal Gear Solid games play differently enough across the board, especially once you get out 2 and 3, like 4 and then 5, but like, and then Peace Walker as well. But like, you know, it's very hard to suggest one of those games to start off with if you care about story, because it's a convoluted fucking mess if you don't start with one, for the most part. So, you know, I think depending on the person, their interest in the story, they're just looking for gameplay, or, you know, I think I factor that into it as well. You know, so like in that instance, you know, I think it's easy to recommend a Final Fantasy because none of them kind of, unless you're playing like 10-2 or 13-2 or 3 or whatever, but like, you know, it's easy to easily identify a Final Fantasy game. But if someone came up to me and was like, which Metal Gear Solid do I start off with? Was like, you might want to start with 1 unless you want to do the chronological thing, but things aren't going to make sense. So yeah, I think the story element's a bigger part of my recommendation for something.
Sure. Yeah. Like, like with story, I feel like story, depending how strong it is, how much the game focuses on, it definitely dictates what you can recommend to somebody. But so if that's not a factor, I usually think about ease of access and just like and like simplicity. If is this something someone can easily get into without having to worry about a lot of learning curves, and hopefully from there they'll get a better idea where, like, all right, once they get a nibble, do they want to bite? And then if it happens to be, you know, even if like the first choice isn't like my personal favorite, but I know it's something that like that can be probably accepted easier. That's usually what I try to look for.
It's tough too, because I've also thought about a fun experiment. I mean, we kind of did it this week with the Sonic Amateur Games Expo stuff, but I feel like a fun experiment for this would be for us to each pick a game for the other to play and see what happens on the other side. But it's tough because, like, coming up with the criteria for that, like, do we make sure that it's a maximum length so that someone's not, you know what I mean? Like that part gets a little strange where I feel like we're each into different things to an extent that, yeah. It's hard. I think time is another big factor for me too, because like I never want to make a recommendation and feel like I'm wasting someone's time with something.
Right.
But I've felt my approach to games recently in the last like 6 months drastically shift, where like how I'm playing Dark Souls is unlike any other game I've ever played. Like my approach to that game completely different than how I would have played it a year ago. And I feel like parts of that are affecting other game playing aspects. I feel like I'm playing fewer things, but for longer, which I like a lot.
I mean, yeah, that's better than just because you can be so easily overwhelmed and then just not want to play anything.
Yeah. And I've been like approaching things like I still look at the Mister as like an opportunity to channel surf in a way. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing there, where like I will dive into something else on Xbox or Switch or something. But that's not to say I haven't, because like Rondo I played completely through on the Mister for like 2 weeks just nonstop. But yeah, there's different
and then
things.
like the worst is when you want to recommend the game that you want to recommend, but it's hard to acquire.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
And it's like, fuck. Well, this would have been good on 360, but it's not backwards compatible on a Series X. So
yeah, so you got to get a 360 or not, or just, you know what, don't play it. Just forget I ever mentioned it, and yeah.
Try to think of like a runner-up. It's like,
Have you?
Yeah, because I think of that too with the when all those Spider-Man games came out. There, not all of them, but the one and then the other. Eventually, I remembered really liking Web of Shadows, I think is what it was called. There was Edge of Time, but it was the one before that. Shattered Dimensions, that's what it was. Because you played through as Spider-Man, 2099 Spider-Man.
Noir
was in there, and there was a fourth one. Maybe Black Suit Spider-Man? Hold on, do I have it? I do.
Into the Spider-Verse before Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, for real.
It was, yeah. 2099, Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Noir Spider-Man. And each of the four Spider-Mans had different gameplay to them. Like, Noir was kind of like Arkham Asylum light. But with more stealth. Like 2099, you're just futuristic stuff. Anyway, it was really cool, but like, I don't think you could play this game today. Like, I don't think there's a way to do it unless you have a PS3 or a 360. You get a copy of the game physically, like, you know. But I think it's a really cool Spider-Man game. Anyway,
I was gonna ask, like, whenever you said about the time thing, I feel like I've done that before, where I've suggested something, but I've told, especially if some of a Game Pass, I feel like I've told them, like, if you get to this spot, or if you've given it like 3 hours, you're not feeling it, I don't think you're ever gonna feel it. So like, feel free to stop there. I feel like I've done that before to kind of like not feel terrible. Like, you kind of let them know up front, like, all right, you might want to get to this spot. It's a little bit of a time investment, but like, I'm not going to make you play the next 20 hours if you're hating it, because if you're not feeling it,
yeah, Game Pass makes that easier too.
Yeah,
because you're not recommending like someone waste their money.
Yeah, like, I mean, a few former coworkers, it was so easy to recommend, like, you know, like the first Spider-Man game or whatever, because like, you know, within the first hour, you kind of know, like, you're swinging around, you know the mechanics. It's like, all right, if you don't like it there, like, you're not gonna like it. But like, this is right up your alley, so I think you're gonna like this.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah,
money is a good factor.
I've done that before. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to check out Sonic Colors this week. I might, I'll see what the day looks like. Maybe I'll grab that digital deluxe version and play it early.
And it's only like $40.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Nintendo, pay attention.
Hey, that Wario was only $50, so.
Oh, all right, doing better.
Yeah. Which I did not realize. I put $60 aside for that, and then I was surprised when my little pre-order hit. That's out this week. I'm going to be playing some of that Wario. What are you guys? You guys, are we all in on Wario?
Yes.
I think so. Yep.
It starts the fall. of Switch.
Yeah, really, dude. This is the first one. And then, isn't it a week after? Isn't there? Maybe I'm forgetting. There's a lot of Switch stuff
There was
coming
like
out,
a big hitter, like I think every month. Because I think November Shin Megami Tensei, October is Metroid, this month was Wario. And they haven't. It is personal for me. But
Advance Wars was December.
Right. Personal for me, the Danganronpa collection this holiday. They haven't released a date for that yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
Tetris Effect is there if you still haven't played that somewhere.
Man,
Yeah.
it's a journey.
I thought there was another thing.
Probably
I don't
is.
know.
I can't think of it.
I'm looking through their first party stuff, and there's that Big Brain Academy just got announced this week, which I'm super stoked about. Like,
Yeah.
very, very excited.
I like that.
I love those games. That's only $30 too, man. That's gonna be a fun one. Anyway, that's gonna do it for the Free Cheese episode 417. If you want more, you can find more on the internet. You can email us, podcast@thefreecheese.com. Let us know what you've been playing, what you would recommend to a friend, your favorite interactive elements in games, and more. We're going to talk about Game Boy and Game Boy Color potentially coming to the Switch next week. So if you have recommendations for Game Boy games that you'd like to see, podcast@thefreecheese.com. You can follow us all. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Mark is at _mental. Matt is at MattyIce131. I've got Sonic Colors in my future. I've got what's that called? Wario in the future. Maybe Final Fantasy 15, I guess.
If I was able to get to my console right this very second, it's gonna be bought. So it's
as
happening.
soon as we're done recording, I'm gonna stand up and walk over there and do exactly that. I'm excited. Yeah, what are you guys hopping into?
Final Fantasy 15. Shut you motherfuckers up.
I hope you love it. Like, I genuinely feel like if you can just break down here's game recommendation, man. This is exactly what I'm talking about. If you can break down that barrier of like, I think this game sucks, and accept it for what it is, and I think you will really, really like it. I hope. I don't know.
I'm doing everything. I'm watching Kingsglaive as soon as this is done. I'm gonna.
You don't need to do that. That put me to sleep.
Matt, I'll drop off my
Maybe I want
VR
a Matt.
headset and you can do the fishing.
Great, I'll
There
do
you go.
fishing. I'll catch that fish I never caught earlier in the episode with that fucking Biggs Fishing World, whatever the fuck that was called.
I think you'll like it. I think when you're cruising along, listen to the Final Fantasy VII battle theme in the Regalia.
I'm probably
Prompto's taking selfies.
don't wish that, because if I hear the Final Fantasy VII battle music, I'm just gonna switch over to my PS5.
You might think that, but yeah, it's gonna be tough for me to play that this week. But I'm gonna see what I can do. But I guess we've got 2 weeks till you're back on, so maybe that buys me some time to play catch up. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna finish up Colors.
And then playing Final Fantasy 15.
No, I mean, wait for Wario when that comes out, but in between, I don't know. We'll see. Probably more of those Sage games, honestly.
Yeah, they're
Thanks
pretty
for
fun. Might I
doing that.
recommend Pokemon Black? Yeah, if you want to play any of those games we talked about, check the post on thefreecheese.com. We're going to have links to all of those, so you can check them out and shout out the creators, etc. We'll be back in another week with another episode. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.